So now that we have our Excel file generated, we're going to look at how we can interact with that Excel template so that we can input the data updates into Excel and then import them back. The objective of this video is just really to go over some of the things that you will want to consider when you're updating the Excel file to make sure that you keep the integrity of the Excel file so that when you go to import it back into Business Central, it will be accepted. So here, just a little bit of a recap. In the previous video, we exported the customer table to Excel. So now what we'll do is we'll open up the Excel file that was exported. And as mentioned, the Excel file should also reference the package code, the customer caption or the table caption, and the table ID. You also see in row 3 which fields were selected. You can see here we selected the number, the name, and the salesperson code. So some things to consider here are that I usually just leave my export exactly as it is, other than the table data that I intend to update. I want the system to keep the XML mapping in the Excel file. I need it to stay intact. Otherwise, when I go to import it, I'm going to get an error that the system doesn't understand which fields and where to put the data. So I typically do not update any of the names or the captions here. I don't insert new columns. I don't delete columns that are there. If I want to not have my name as part of the export, you're going to watch the previous video again, and you're not going to include that field in your export. What I am going to understand about these templates and when I'm importing into Excel is that the system will append or update data that's already there other than your primary key. So what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, you wanted to change the ID of this customer. Well, this is the primary key. So if I go to change this to maybe more of a semi-intelligent card ID, the system, because it's a primary key, is going to think that it needs to just create that record. And what I will find is that I've got 2 of this customer name. So we'll leave the primary keys alone. We can always help you with what to do in the scenario that you've done an update and you do want to change the primary key. But if it's not a primary key, I could go ahead and I could change. Maybe I want this to say Corp. And again, my salesperson code, unfortunately this sales rep's moved on, so we're going to go ahead and change their code to a different code that's in our BC system. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change this to HR, for Helen Ray. I am going to make sure that I am updating the data in that table data area. If I say, oh, well, I want to keep this like this, and then I want to just kind of look at this, and maybe I want it to be Helen, but maybe I wanted this one to stay JO. As soon as I start adding data, and I don't see this little perimeter, and you can always see this little tick over here on the bottom right, this lets me know that this is actually not being considered at all. So if you go to import it back into your system, this is ultimately getting ignored. So what you would want to do, and I'll just delete these, if you need to add more to your table, when you tab, you'll notice that my table is growing. So as long as it's in this area, as long as you see the alternating blue and white, you know that the information is going to be read. On the other side of it, if you have blank spaces and extra rows, the system is also going to create those. So in the case of a customer, as an example, depending on how your number series is set up, it could create you a bunch of blank records. So again, some things to consider. Do not add data outside of your table data area, and do not include blank rows in your table data area. Again, you do not want to take this table and drag it out to expand and include more columns or include more rows. And again, you do not want to delete or insert columns. So what I always say, safest, best way is just to go ahead and update anything in your table data area. Again, we want to validate that if you want to do things like change your item number, change your customer number, change your vendor number, you cannot just change the primary key. The system will just duplicate, and then you'll have, in this case, 10 customers instead of 5. So again, we can always do more videos to get into a little bit more detail, but this is the basic of some major things to consider and keep in mind when you're updating your Excel templates. Only update your table data area. The other thing to note is if you've got code type fields, you want to make sure that that data exists inside of your BC software before you import it. So I cannot just put any initials or any data into the salesperson code. HR, in this case, must exist in my salesperson table. Here, I've exported a template with just a little bit more fields just to paint a little bit of a picture. The beauty of Excel is that you can leverage find and replace. You can quickly get to your data, you can update it. If you want, you can leverage Excel formulas to be able to get data into fields faster. You can absolutely do this in the Excel templates, but what's important to note is that when you're pasting the result of that formula back into your table data area, paste it back as a value, not as the formula, because it cannot read formulas for things like if statements. So just for an example, I'm going to say that I only want my salesperson code to change if payment terms are CM for current month. So what I can do is say if payment terms equal CM, then I want to have maybe HR for Helen, and if not, I'm just going to keep it as it is, which is the JO. So here you can see that it gave me my results. I didn't have to go row by row. And again, if you've got lots of records, this is really important. If you're first opening up your file, you may find that this field is still set to text, in which case all you're going to see is the formula that you wrote. All you do, highlight that row, go ahead, click on General, drag it down, you're good to go. So what I mean by you have to paste it back as a value is you would want to click on the Control key here, and then here, right click and say Paste as Value. And then here I can clear sort of my validation field to be able to make sure that when it gets imported back, it will actually read what I need it to read, which is something it will recognize being the salesperson code that's in my BC environment. So again, leverage filtering, or the find and replace, leverage find, leverage formulas. But just remember, you have to put that back into the table data, into the field, in a format that Business Central will be able to read. So again, I'm going to go back to my simplified template just so that we can keep our data really focused for this demo. And I'm going to go ahead, once everything is updated the way that I want, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this file to a place that I can easily grab it, maybe something like my desktop. Now my file is ready to go, and in the next video we can look at the update.